Hey guys, I want to address two pieces of our posture and alignment that are really important as we try to prevent and heal diastasis. So first we want to pay attention to the alignment of our pelvis, and second we want to pay attention to where our ribs are and if we're getting any rib flaring. Why this is important? Because our pelvis, our pubic bone, is attached to the linea alba. So the tilt of our pelvis makes a big difference on how much it's pulling on the front of our abdominal wall. Also, the linea alba attaches up here to the tops of our ribs. So when our ribs are flared or we're tilted back, that again increases that pressure and that strain, and this predisposes or can worsen diastasis. So here's what we want to look for. Find your ASIS, or this hip bone right here that it sticks out a little bit. Put your fingers on that very front top portion, and then find your pubic bone. So that hard part right in the front, right in the middle. So what we want to do is we want to get these two landmarkers in line. So if we are anteriorly tilted, so forward, I don't know if you can see this, but my hip bone is in front of my pubic symphysis here. And if we're slouched back and we're rolled back and our hips are thrusted forward, our pubic bone is going to be in front of our hip bone. So we want to find this neutral position. There can be a range. It's not, one exact position, but we want them to be mostly in line. If you were to take that plane right through the middle there, okay? So that neutral pelvis is really important as the baseline of our posture. Second, we want to be aware of our ribs. I want you to take it a second just to look at my ribs as I take this nice big inhaled breath. Okay, so as I breathe in, I'm gonna kind of breathe in with my chest here. Watch my ribs. See my ribs, how they're flaring out and up. And then when I exhale, they come down and together. So if we are having good posture, we have our shoulders back, it's really impossible to hold this good posture with your shoulders back and breathe up here in your chest without the ribs flaring, okay? You see that? My ribs are really poking out here. So what we need to do is have our shoulders back, have our pelvis neutral, and then we need to make sure we're using our diaphragm to breathe so that we're really breathing through our abdomen. When the diaphragm pulls down and we allow ourselves to expand through the abdomen and the lower ribs, we're able to maintain this neutral posture without having to sacrifice that rib flare and that pelvic tilt. Okay, so be aware of where your ribs are. If they're coming up when you're reaching overhead, are they tilting up, or are you able to pair that with your breath? Keep those ribs down and together as we reach up, as we reach back. And then where is your pelvis as you're sitting? We tend to sit in all sorts of funky positions, but we need to be aware so that we're not putting excess strain on this already very stressed part of the body. So by bringing the awareness to how our body is positioned throughout the day, not just in the 20-30 minutes of your corrective exercises, that's great. But if we don't address the other 23 and a half hours, we're not going to really see the results, and we're not going to have the holistic picture. So we need to bring this awareness to our bodies. Now here's one thing. I've seen a lot of lists recently of pregnancy, don't do this, move sideways, don't bend, don't twist, yada yada. True, we don't want to be loading on one side and doing heavy movements and twists and everything, because that will stress the linea alba, that will put stress on there. But look, we're moms, we're people, we're gonna be reaching around to grab the fruit snacks in the back seat or whatever it is when you're 9 months pregnant. That's not going to stop. So we need to keep involving movements such as twisting and bending, usually as a mobility work in our programs. We can't just completely eliminate that, because then when life calls and you have to twist or you have to bend, you've lost so much of your range, so much of your mobility, because you just have completely X'd out those movements that you end up taking your whole rib cage or your whole pelvis with you, and that's not helping either. So by being aware of where your ribs are, where your pelvis is, where your breath is, combining that, and then adding movements that we need in our daily lives, that's a really powerful tool so that you can continue to train for life, for function, but not increase the stress on the linea alba or worsen your diastasis. So mindfulness, awareness of your body is so much more important than, those lists of don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. Okay. Move and be aware and be able to move without fear.